continues to call a ceasefire in Gaza. Daily protests have been taking place in cities across the world.
Over 20,000 people killed by Israel attacks since this October.
The Bible says that there is a time for peace. This is a time for war. Thank you, America, for standing with Israel today, tomorrow, and always.
They are the Satan. They don't represent Judaism.
You can be a Christian, you can be a Zionist, but you can't be both, because Zionism is a form of racism.
Zionism and the idea of a Jewish state will bring violence to the Holy Land.
I'm a Christian Zionist. We have a special relationship with the State of Israel.
What is going on in Gaza for the last couple of weeks, I don't have the words to it. It's horrendous, it's terrible, it's ridiculous, it's heartbreaking, it's unacceptable.
An Israeli campaign in Gaza that can only be described as genocidal at this point.
We first need to understand what Zionism stands for. Zionism, contrary to the notion, to the understanding of many people, Zionism is the total contrast of Judaism. Even before any crimes to it, even before having this state in Palestine, even before an occupation, even before a genocide, even before anything.
Zionism is the political movement that was created over 100 years ago to both further the initial establishment of the State of Israel and to further the ongoing settler colonial project of settling the land of Palestine.
The State of Israel is not here for the Jewish people. It's here for a political movement of Zionism. It will do everything they can to support this political movement, this nationalism. It will attack whoever stands in its way, regardless whether they are Palestinians, Muslims, or Jews.
In 1900, the major rabbis put together a book, and the book was a warning to Jews about the dangers of Zionism and the dangers that Zionism will bring upon Jewish people. They said Zionism and the idea of a Jewish state will bring violence to the Holy Land.
The philosophy of Zionism of building a sovereign homeland for Jews was not invented by religious scholars. This was invented by Theodor Herzl and his friends, outspoken heretics who didn't follow anything within Judaism.
They invented a people, a place, and a history. So they said Jewish people are not a faith, Jewish people are a nation. Not united by faith, which is what was true, but a nation like other nations that have a country and a language. But they didn't have a country or a common language. So they said, well, Palestine is the country of the Jewish people, but there's no history that shows that. So they said, well, the Bible is not a book of religion, it's not a religious book of faith, it's our history book.
The whole concept of Zionism is basically blasphemy and heresy, and they march around the world saying, we represent Judaism, and if you oppose us, you are against Judaism. If you oppose us, you are an anti-Semitic, you're anti-Semite.
Dear friends, as President of the State of Israel, we, the people of Israel, are eternal, and no one will break us.
I was a Zionist, and it's very difficult to break away from that very compelling story. I grew up in this very patriotic Zionist environment. Everybody talked about contributing to the state. My grandfathers, my uncles, my parents, my everybody, the state, contributing to the state was everything. It was the most important thing. Particularly after 1967, this new kind of religious Zionism received this huge impetus, a huge kind of, boost. And they took over the role of being the pioneers. So in the early years, the pioneers were like my parents' generation. Now the pioneers were them, and they went to the West Bank, and to all these, supposedly holy places that are mentioned in the Bible, and they became the new pioneers. But they brought this combination of religion and nationalism, which of course is very toxic.
We have a choice of either beating the Arabs, killing the Arabs, move them out because it's either the Arabs or Jews. There is not the slightest possibility of coexistence between us in the same country.
They uprooted their hearts and souls from God, and they're busy pressing the indigenous people, the Palestinian people, for God's creation, God's people. They're killing and murdering and maiming. And this is what we have. We have a total turning on its head.
It was the same belief behind the Crusades, the belief that the Crusades had God on their side and that God would vindicate them. History is replete with failed prophecies and lots of casualties among those who believe that kind of thinking.
Now today, when we see this terrible genocide going on in Gaza, you still find those so-called religious soldiers.
זכור את אשר עשה לך עמלק, נצטווינו. אנו זוכרים ואנו נלחמים.
In the Old Testament, in the Hebrew Bible, the first group in the Bible that attacked the Jewish community, the people of Israel as they were leaving Egypt, was this group, Amalek. I think I don't view the Palestinians as being the Amalekites or Amalek.
The Zionists pretend that the Old Testament is a history book, and so if there's a reference to Amalek in that, it means it's history. And then from time to time they drop the religion, and from time to time they bring it back in whenever it's convenient.
איך ידעתם לשים את זה פה? אני קורא את זה כציווי לפעולה שכל דור צריך לעשות כדי להבטיח את נצח ישראל.
We need to understand this hypocrisy. You have a person that refuses to follow the religion and then uses a religion for something.
אנחנו בני האור, הם בני החושך, והאור ינצח את החושך.
Israel is frankly an apartheid regime. It's based on a supremacist theology and a political dogma that says that we are the chosen people, we are superior, we're unaccountable to international law, the UN or whoever.
והארץ הזו שלנו, וצריך לומר את זה ולדבר על זה, זה ממש לא מיותר. כל הארץ, כולל יהודה ושומרון, ואין אקיופאי טריטורי ואין סיסמאות מעוותות ושקריות שהטמיעו כאקסיומות במשפט הבינלאומי.
הארץ שלנו. כל הארץ! כולל עזה! כולל לבנון! כל הארץ המובטחת!
As Netanyahu seeks to build support for campaigns like what we're seeing right now in Gaza, you will see that he and other Israeli leaders use multiple justifications depending on the audience that he's talking to.
We have no better friends in the world than our Christian friends. And I want to thank each of you for your friendship.
I'm a Christian Zionist. For sure, as evangelicals, we have a special relationship with the State of Israel and the Jewish community. As Christians, we follow Jesus, the Prince of Peace. We believe, the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers. They're the ones that can be called the children of God.
If you believe that the Jews are God's chosen people and that God gave them all of the land in the Middle East, you would do something about it. And so you find Christians in America particularly, but also in Europe, funding the return of Jews from Eastern Europe and Russia to Palestine.
And we moved the capital of Israel to Jerusalem. That's for the evangelicals. It's amazing with that. The evangelicals are more excited about that than Jewish people.
I am here to deliver a singular message. Israel, you are not alone.
The Christian Zionist movement is very large and very influential in the United States. And that comes out of, in part, a theology that believes that Jews need to return to the land of Palestine before the Christian Messiah can return.
God gave them that land. They own that land.
But religion is being used by Zionists to further their apartheid regime, in particular galvanizing support from the Christian Zionist lobby, which is probably 10 or 20 times larger than the Jewish Zionist movement.
To the security of the state and the people of Israel.
We are all Jews.
I love Israel. I love Israel.
The United States has Israel's back.
Our heroes are Jewish heroes. Our values are Jewish values. Our book is their book. And so we have this sort of seamless theological theological relationship with Judaism into Christianity.
But to be a Zionist today in American politics is perfectly acceptable. It's the only form of racism, actually, that is accepted. You know, people always talk about having zero tolerance to racism. But it's okay to be a Zionist. Even the president says he's a Zionist.
Biden, like most politicians, has no clue what Zionism means. He says it because Zionism is kind of the motto of Israel at present. He said such ridiculous things as, Israel is the only country in the world where a Jew can be free.
You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist.
The U.S. and specifically the Biden administration has really taken on the ownership of this Israeli campaign. There's a speech that has been getting attention recently from several decades ago where he said if Israel didn't exist, we would have to create it.
Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region.
What is going on in Gaza for the last couple of weeks, I don't have the words to it. It's horrendous, it's terrible, it's ridiculous, it's heartbreaking, it's unacceptable.
I was raised learning about the Holocaust. I was raised being told that as a society, we would never let this happen again. And we are seeing this happen again.
People say Israel is committing war crimes and crimes against humanity. No, Israel is the crime against humanity.
So what we're seeing in Gaza is a progressive ethnic cleansing of the citizens of Gaza, destroying 60% of the homes, the infrastructures, mosques, churches, hospitals, schools.
אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור.
No shelter, no electricity, no water mains. Human beings can't survive with that kind of siege. And we see the death toll already rising, many probably being permanently traumatized and their immune systems impaired because of the privations that are undergoing. 80% of the Gazan population of 2.3 million displaced. So I think under any sensible definition of genocide that's in the Genocide Convention itself, one, it's clear that the Israeli government is trying to create conditions of life that are obviously or recklessly calculated to destroy some or all of the Palestinians. And that's the definition of genocide.